Okay, here's our video today. The universe inside of us, or inside us. And when we think of the vast universe out there with the trillions of stars, trillions of galaxies, maybe quadrillion planets and such, nebulas, black holes, neutron stars, whatever they are, inside of us, you, me, Aunt Sally, inside of us, there is a universe, a complete ecosystem that we'll talk about. The human body is a microcosm, whereas the universe is a macrocosm. Now let's talk about that. So inside of us, and what should we use today? Maybe yellow. We have 36 trillion cells. 36 trillion cells. But we have more bacteria inside of us. We could have over 40 trillion bacteria or more. Every year there's new updates on that. Well, not cells. 36 trillion cells or more, 40 trillion bacteria. So we have more bacteria in us, inside of our gut and around us, than our cells. And we can have over 300, and this is probably more, 300 trillion viruses. So 300 trillion acellular viruses are not alive, but 300 trillion virus in us. It makes you wonder, at whose body is it? Who's really in charge? Is it you? Is it your body? Is it your cells? Is it the bacteria? Because the cells and the bacteria, they're all alive. The virus is not, right? And there's debates on that. But viruses have DNA. They could have RNA and DNA, but they don't have cells. And they don't reproduce and so forth. So they're not technically alive. And we also have 7 octillion atoms inside of us, inside of our body. It's an enormous amount. Well, let's write it. Let's write it over here next to all these. Let's write here 7. So that's 7,000. That's 7 million. That's 7 billion. Will I fit it? That's 7 trillion, 7 quadrillion, quintillion, sextillion, septillion, and I'm just about making it 7 octillion atoms in you. That's the universe in our body. With the elements from the stars. Remember, we're stardust. Let's look at that. We're 65% oxygen. So let's write that down. 65% oxygen. The Earth only has about 21%. We're 18% carbon. All these come from stars. We're 10% hydrogen. And hydrogen is the most abundant and lightest element in the universe. And we need all 3 of these, and all 3 of these, I'll show you, are part of proteins and lipids and our DNA and carbohydrates. Then we have 3% nitrogen in us. And then the rest are trace elements like calcium and phosphorus, potassium. But you can see this oxygen, 65%. Let's put a line under here. And if you think about the macronutrients, right over here, like proteins, like I said before, with the proteins and carbs. So protein, which, of course, without proteins we wouldn't exist. We need proteins to function, to carry out all our life functions. Hormones and enzymes are proteins. But if you think about the main building blocks of protein, it's carbon, it's oxygen, it's hydrogen. And if you think about carbs, where we get our energy, our glucose, guess what? Carbon, oxygen, hydrogen. And if you think about lipids with our fats, which we need for a lot of things protect our organs and nutrient absorption. But guess what? Carbon, oxygen, hydrogen. And think about DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid, our blueprints, so that we have our genes. You got it. Carbon, oxygen, hydrogen. And of course, proteins will have some nitrogen, and some DNA will have some phosphorus and so forth. Lipids could have sulfur. But for the most part, these are the basics of the macronutrients. And this is stardust. This is what's inside us. So you think about how the body maintains homeostasis, how it sets a balance. If you have a fever, it makes you sweat, right? How it maintains this, how it communicates, how it responds to infection. It's amazing. It's truly mind-blowing. Our body is a universe. And it's more complicated than our solar system. So I said before, we have all our cells. We have white blood cells. Like this picture you're seeing here is a neutrophil, because there's many types of white blood cells. And the neutrophils, let's write it down. They're the first responders. Neutrophil. So, again, they're the first responders. They'll eat the bacteria. And they're much bigger than bacteria, by the way. So if this was a neutrophil, that would be like a little bacteria, that red dot over there. And the crazy thing about this is, they're alive. They're not just atoms. They're alive. White blood cells are alive, and the bacteria inside of you are alive. So we have this entire universe inside of us, this ecosystem. So when a pathogen enters your body, these white blood cells, these neutrophils that you're looking at, they'll travel to that site of the infection, and they can sense chemicals that are being released from bacteria. Bacteria will release certain enzymes because they're trying to eat, right? They have to absorb nutrients. They're also trying to attach themselves to your body. They're also trying to communicate with each other. Bacteria like to communicate with each other. And the white blood cells can sense this when they send out these signals, and they will travel there. And here's a good picture of, let me show you a white blood cell pushing the red blood cells out of the way and trying to eat this bacteria. Let me show you that. And this is an old film. You can catch this on the YouTube somewhere. So here's a neutrophil chasing a bacteria, and if you could see in the blue, that circle over there, there's the bacteria. And this neutrophil, look how big it is. And it'll push out the red blood cells out of the way, and they'll eat that bacteria. So just looking at this picture, you can see the universe inside of us. And like I said earlier, we do have good bacteria in our gut, probably 40 trillion of them. The white blood cells leave them alone because they know those bacteria are good for us. And we're learning a lot about bacteria inside of our gut now. It's still a new field. So you'll hear more about this bacteria that could help us for many things. And also the virome. We have viruses in us, like I mentioned. Much more viruses inside of us that we're learning about how they could help us. So these are very exciting new fields about the bacteria and viruses inside of our body. So just to review, if we look at the systems that happen in the universe and within our universe, we have a circulatory system and a nervous system and digestive system and so forth, where the universe has its galaxies and star systems and gravitational fields, where the galaxy will have celestial bodies interacting with one another. Well, we have interconnected organs and tissues and cells all working together. And in the body and in the universe involves the transformation of energy and matter. Well, in our body, we take glucose and we make ATP. Or in the universe, the stars are making nuclear fusion. They're nuclear bombs, and they're giving us all that stardust that we need for our body. Now, like I said before, there's new exploration going on within the human body. It's a new field with these bacteria and viruses. And that's the universe inside of us.